Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I want to have a chatty conversation with you guys where we discuss what a classic is and where I tell you what I think a classic is, which I don't think you're going to expect the answer, or maybe you will because you'll be like, you always have an opinion different from other people, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe you'll obviously expect the opposite of what everyone says. But it's the reason I want to talk about this is because I follow a lot of accounts on Bookstagram, and oftentimes I like to scroll through other Bookstagram accounts even if I don't start to follow them. But the thing is that like there are so many videos about how if you're not reading classics, you're not reading good books, or books that classify the difficulty level of classics. Like, these are very hard classics that you should read, or these are very easy classics that you should read, or it's saying, people are saying like these classics are worthless, and I don't know, there's just so much discourse on classics, and I think there's just confusion about what the word classic means and what it's defining. And it's hard. Like, this is hard for me to say because the thing is like, so Tristan and the Classics, a really great booktube channel. Obviously, Tristan the Classics, he reads primarily classics. He talks about them. Unfortunately now, these days, he does most of his stuff on Patreon. So I don't get to see his charming face all the time. But his passion for classics, his passion for reading is fantastic. I love listening to him. I love listening to his voice. Charming man, fantastic, absolutely wonderful. And he's done a few videos about what classics are and the importance of classics, why you should read classics, why classics were important back in the day and why they're still important. Like, he's done every variety of like, you should read the classics kind of video he's done. And there's one video very early on where he basically describes what is a classic, and it's a beautiful video, and he's so well spoken, and his argument is so wonderful, and it's very persuasive, and it's fantastic, and I agree with everything he says. However, at the same time, I don't agree at all, and the reason is that for me, classic is not a noun. For me, classic is an adjective. It's just an adjective that says that something has been tested over the years, and the general opinion has been that this is worth keeping, and that this is now a staple. So Don Quixote was published, and ever since then, people have read it, people have disliked it, but for the most part, people have decided this is a classic. It is a classic in its genre, because we all agree it's a beautiful book. It's wonderful. So for me, classic is an adjective, and what I mean by that is that you have ketchup. Okay, ketchup is a classic condiment. If you want to eat a hamburger, what sauce am I going to put on this hamburger? Well, you can always go with the classic ketchup, right? Or I want, continuing the hamburger metaphor, I want to eat a hamburger. What can I eat? Well, McDonald's, that's a classic. I mean, I don't think it's really good, but it's a classic. It's a classic hamburger chain. So it makes sense you would go there. So classic is an adjective. Ooh, what should I drink with my what should I drink with my hamburger? Coca-Cola, right? That's a classic drink. That Coca-Cola with fries and a hamburger, that is a classic combination. So for me, classic is an adjective. It's just something that says a lot of people have tested this, and a lot of people have said it's good, and a lot of people think it stands the test of time, and it's not as subjective to people's opinion. Like most people can say, even if they don't like it, there's merit behind it. And so the thing that's frustrating is people get stuck with this idea of classics being, the fat, oh gosh, not the idiots, oh my gosh, that's not at all where I was trying to go with that. The number of videos, I don't know how the word video turned into idiot, but the number of videos that say, oh, classics are just old dead English men, like English white men. Why do I want to read that? Like, there are a lot of classics, books that have been considered classic that have been written by dead white men, but that doesn't mean all classics have been written by dead white men, because there are classics within different countries, for example, and different countries have different races of people. The classic in Japan, called the Tale Genji, is by Murasaki Shikibu, who is a Japanese woman, who is Asian. She's dead, but she's an Asian woman. Nyugi Tiongo, who wrote The River Between and wrote Petals of Blood, from Kenya. He's black, classic writer from the region. So a classic doesn't mean dead white people. It doesn't. And the thing is, like, a classic, every country has their own classic. Every language has their own classics. Genres have their own classics. So you can't be like, I don't read the classics, I only read science fiction. It's like, well, if you read science fiction, you probably do read the classics. Have you read John Wyndham? Classic science fiction writer. Have you read H.G. Wells? Classic science fiction writer. They're classic because they're excellent, but even if you don't think they're excellent, they're pioneers of the genre, right? Mary Shelley with Frankenstein, pioneer of the science fiction genre. So if you read science fiction, but you say, I'm not going to read Frankenstein because it's a classic, well then, do you really read science fiction? Then, Lonesome Dove, classic of the Western literature. True Grit, classic of Western literature. It's like movies, right? Same thing. People be like, I only watch the classics. I only watch Citizen Kane and Godfather and things like that. It's like you watch classic movies within that genre. You read classic movies from the mafia genre if you read Godfather, if you watch The Godfather. If you want a classic in comedy science fiction, Spaceballs is a classic. It's a great classic. Spaceballs is hilarious. Should it be included within the classics? Yeah, it is, because it's fantastic. It stands the test of time of still being funny and still being a good look at what science fiction is, and it's a good look at of being a satire of science fiction at the same time. Titanic, classic love story. Just like Romeo and Juliet, classic love story. So classic for me is an adjective. So yeah, like all the videos are like classics are beautifully well crafted books that represent literature, and then you have, if you don't read Tolstoy, then you're not reading the classics and you don't understand, and and if you don't read difficult literature, then you don't understand. And it's like, for me, that's not what classics means. Dracula is a classic, and it's a classic within the vampire genre. Carmilla is a classic within the vampire genre. It's not just, and it's also, they're classics within the epistolary genre, right? Dracula is, it's a book, Dracula was written, where the plot is based off telegrams and telegraphs and letters and sort of newspaper clippings. So it's an epistolary novel, which makes it a classic in its genre. So Dracula is a classic of epistolary novels, just like 84 Charing Cross Road is also a classic within that genre. Very well beloved books. One of them is about vampires, and one of them is about a woman who loves books. Very different genres in terms of the plot, but when you put them together in terms of the epistolary label, they're both classics. So so I don't know, like obviously the videos that describe what classics are and the videos that insult people for not reading classics, or videos that don't insult people for reading classics but encourage people to read classics, like those are all good and they're excellent, and they bring views, and it makes and you know they all make sense, it's all rational. But at the end of the day, for me, classic is just, it's an adjective. That's Coca-Cola's a classic drink. A pickle is a classic condiment. I don't like pickles. I hate pickles. But is it a classic condiment on a hamburger? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I can't deny that. It is a class. Pickles, lettuce, tomato with ketchup, classic hamburger combination. Most people can't go wrong with it. I hate pickles. I will always ask no pickles. But it's classic. It's a classic. That's just what it means. It's just an adjective. At least for me, that's how I feel. So I do encourage people to read the classics, but not for the same reasons. It's not some like, you haven't read literature if you haven't read the classics. That's not how I feel about it. For me, I think you should read the classics because there's much to be gained to understand. Well, A, they're just good. If a classic means they've stood the test of time, so they're probably going to be good. If you end up not liking it, that doesn't mean the book isn't good. It just means you just don't vibe with it. There are some classics. There are some classic books that I'm like, okay, whatever. Not for me. But can't deny that it's a classic, right? So like, you know, The Alchemist by Paul Coelho is on the 1,001 books you must read before you die. Like, it's a new classic. No, not for me. That book could die in the fire, wouldn't really care. But I can't deny it's a classic amongst the people who like those kind of books, those like sort of like, you know, write on the mirror in lipstick and write like, I am beautiful, I am strong, I can do anything. Like, for people who like that kind of stuff, it's a classic, can't deny it. It's not for me, but it's a classic, can't deny it. So, you know, I love beautiful prose, I love heavy descriptions, I love wordplay and everything, but that's not what makes a classic. It helps, but it's not what makes a classic. Do I think people should read the classics? Like I said, I should, for historical merit, for understanding where we come from, where you come from where your favorite genre comes from. Yes, for sure. And obviously, you know, a lot of the classics were written a long time ago, so the style of writing is very different. And I think people shouldn't sell themselves short by saying, oh, it's too hard for me, I could never read that stuff. It's like, well, you know what? If you were born 100 years ago, you'd be reading it just like they did. So why are you, like, we have more knowledge than we used to have back then. So why are you selling yourself short? Like, of course you can read it. Just do it. Train yourself. It's just training. Everything humans do, we do it because we train ourselves to do it. Like, we aren't born learning how to speak our languages immediately. We were trained to learn our languages. We become experts in our fields because we train ourselves to become experts in our fields. Now, as you become an adult, as you get older, you have certain priorities. You realize, you know what? I like history. I don't need to become super knowledgeable about microbiology. I just need to have a general knowledge of microbiology, but I'll leave that to the experts, right? Where was I going with this? What was I saying? There was a connection there and I had it and then I lost it. But just knowledge and pushing yourself to be harder. But even if you don't need to know, you know, microbiology to study history, just allowing yourself to test your mind and see how far you can go in learning microbiology before you decide, you know what, this isn't for me, I don't need this as much. Like, pushing your brain, that is important. That is necessary. You should always push your brain, and you should never deny yourself the opportunity to challenge yourself and to try something more difficult, because you can do these things. You just have to train yourself to do these things. It's like reading. When people first get into reading, like when you were, you know, you start off easy and you get harder and harder. Like when you're a small child, picture books. Then you enter chapter books. Then you do young adult books if you do that. Then you just continue and continue. You should always push yourself. And classics can help you do that. And they can help you explore and and experience new things and really push yourself. And sometimes you're not even pushing yourself. Tolstoy, Anna Karenina, it's actually very easy to read. You just have to turn the page, right? Dostoevsky, I think Dostoevsky is much harder. But I just don't really like his style of reading, so I don't want to turn the page when I read his books. But the thing is, like, just don't sell yourself short. Like, don't say I can't do it, or don't say it's boring, because like, if you haven't tried, how do you know it's boring? And if you don't push yourself, well, then how do you know? Like, I don't know, just do it. Whatever. I don't know. Eat the hamburger. It's a classic. So I don't know. That's how I feel. Classic is an adjective. It's not a noun. Push yourself. Explore. Have fun. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Let me know what you think. And maybe I'll do a video eventually about why you should read the classics as a noun. All right, we'll see you in my next video. Bye.